Humility is a topic that not a lot of people want to hear about. We all want to go to church and hear about how good God is, but not how evil we are and how we need to change. But the fact that this isn't talked about a bunch because people don't want to hear about it is exactly why we need to talk about it. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines humble as not proud or haughty, not arrogant or assertive. Basically, not acting as if or thinking as if you're greater than someone else. So in this video, let's break down humility. First, humility before God and humility before others, and we're also going to back it all up biblically. But first, let's start out with humbling yourself before God. I actually don't need this Bible here. I'm just going to use the Bible app, but let's look up James 4:6. But he gives more grace. Therefore it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So that verse basically just tells us that whoever is humble is favored in God's eyes, and a kind of sense that's telling us that humility is necessary for grace and salvation, because it says he gives grace to the humble. More on this in a little bit. Let's have a look at 1 Peter 5:6-7 as well. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, so at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties onto him because he cares for you. This verse shows us that humility is rewarded by God, or specifically humility before God. That it says that he may exalt you. And it also tells us here that part of being humble is casting all your cares into God, because it says, humble yourselves therefore, ... casting all your anxieties into him because he cares for you. So to be humble, you also need to cast your anxieties into God. More on this in a second as well. Our last verse for this section is Proverbs 11 verse 2, and it says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. And this verse basically tells us that pride is the exact opposite of humility. And we know that pride, being prideful, is literally sinful. So the opposite of pride is humility, and therefore that would be not sinful, or avoiding the sin of pride. And that being humble gives us wisdom, that God gives us wisdom when we are humble, you know what I'm saying? So overall, all these verses tell us a few different things. First off, they tell us that God rewards and favors the humble. And the first verse somewhat tells us that humbling yourself is necessary to receive God's grace. Like, you gotta admit that you can't earn grace on your own, that you need Jesus. And that we need to submit all of our cares and problems and anxieties onto God, because that means that we're like admitting that we can't fix any of these problems on our own. That's basically what casting all your anxieties into God means. It's basically telling God, I can't do this on my own, I need your help. It's admitting your fault, humbling yourself, and giving your problems to God. Let's also have a look at some biblical scripture about humbling yourself before others. I only have one verse here, but that's because this actually ties in with this last point about humbling yourself before God. Ephesians 4:2, it says, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love. That's basically just a verse summarizing about humbling yourself before others, being patient with others, being gentle with others, not arrogant, not anything like that, but loving each other no matter what. And humility before others really just goes hand in hand with humility before God. Because if we're thinking about how good God is, we are therefore thinking how low we are compared to him. Like these three people, you, the worst murderer, and the best disciple of Jesus, may seem like three very different people on very different scales of life, but because of how good God is up here, and therefore we are all down here, if that makes sense. Like, compared to each other, one of us might be better than another per se, but if we compare ourselves all to God, then we're all just equal. And therefore we can't be prideful, but we have to humble ourselves before others, seeing others as equals. So let me wrap this all up in a nice little bow with some action steps. Know what you actually need to take out of this video. First off, remove any pride, which is the opposite of humility. Both pride with God and pride above others. Basically, treat everyone as equal, like you equal as them, equal as them, equal as them, equal as me, equal as you. You know what I'm saying? And you need to think about God with a heart posture of dependence. Like, you're depending on God because that's how God created us. God created us utterly dependent to Him. And cast all your problems onto God, admitting that we can't do this on our own. We don't have enough power, and we're admitting that we don't have enough power, therefore being humble, admitting that we need God's help. So remove any pride to both God and to others. Treat everyone as equal. Think about God with a heart posture of dependence, and cast all your cares and anxieties into God. I hope that explained humility pretty well for you. Honestly, I'm sure I made some sort of mistake in this video because I'm imperfect. I'm an imperfect human just like you are. So if you saw any mistakes I made, let me know in the comments. Leave them down in the comments. Or if there's anything else you want to add to this video, leave them in the comments as well. And with that, peace out and God bless.